Hey guys, today we shall go over the infamous head of household filing status. Yes, we're back for another tax edition, and that's just because head of household is this weird filing status that I keep seeing everybody ask, should I take? And they want to take it. Head of household means you get a better rate for your tax rate, you got wider brackets to fit money in. I mean, it is a gorgeous looking thing, and all I can really tell you to start out with, don't do it. Well, I should retract that and say don't do it unless you have a very specific reason. I have seen a lot of people attempt to claim this deduction. A lot of times it's for people who are claiming friends who've lived on your couch, or a poly family trying to include a third in a triad, or just in general. You know, you think you take care of this one person a lot, or maybe more than one person, and that you want to claim them on your taxes. And it seems legitimate up front, but you don't want to do this unless you fit into a very specific circumstance. This will trigger a red flag that goes in the IRS database and adds up with other red flags that might get you an audit. And the IRS is pretty brutal about this deduction, this tax status. If you file this way, they'll get even. So the criteria for the head of household status is very specific. In order to claim the status, you must pass 3 tests. The first test is the unmarried test. We'll come back to that. The second test is the support test. And the third test is the qualifying person test. Yes, only specific people qualify, not Joe sitting on your couch. But like I said, we'll get back to that. Now, the first requirement is that a person found for head household must be unmarried or considered unmarried by the end of the year. To be unmarried, you must be single, divorced, or legally separated under an actual separation maintenance agreement. Just living separately does not count. No, you can't split up with your spouse and say we're going to live in 2 different apartments and still claim. It doesn't work that way. If there are any questions, state law will dictate the status of a person being married. Same-sex married couples are recognized federally based on the state or country the marriage was performed. There are some exceptions to the marriage requirement. A married person may be considered unmarried for the purposes of head of household if the married person has been legally married and lived in a separate residence from their spouse for at least 6 months of the year, July through December. It has to be at the end of the year when this happens. You can't have been separated and then gotten back together in June and count the first 6 months. Furthermore, the taxpayer would have to file their return separate from their spouse. That means your spouse, who you're not living with, would have to file as well. Now, the second test is the support test. This means the taxpayer provides more than half of the cost of a home's upkeep for the year. The upkeep of the home includes things like rent, mortgage payments, property taxes, property insurance, repairs, utilities, and groceries. If you need it, the IRS does provide worksheet 1 in publication 501, to determine if you meet the support tests. Now, you need to remember this, costs that are not included in the support test are clothing, educational, vacations, transportation, medical care, life insurance. It is also really important to note that money received from public assistance, such as temporary assistance for needy families, TANF, will not count towards the upkeep provided by the taxpayer. Now, the IRS publication gives several good examples. I'd go to that. I really don't want to go into here because we want to try to keep this at a shorter time rate. Final test is the qualifying person test. No, it can't be Joe, your guy you met downtown and had him come live with you. Can't be your boyfriend. In order to qualify for the head of household filing status, the qualifying person that is being supported needs to live in the taxpayer's home for more than half a year, and only certain closely related relatives will fit this test. There is Table 4 in Publication 501 will have a well laid out chart regarding the qualifying persons, but to kind of give you a brief idea of it, it includes children, stepchildren, adopted children, foster children, brother or sister or descendant of any of these people. Your mother or father can be claimed as a dependent under the qualifying relative rules, or your brother, sister, grandparent, niece, or nephew, whom you can claim as a dependent under the qualifying relative. Once again, refer to Table 4 in Publication 501 for well laid out chart. I'm going to bring this up here. I have this up here so you can look at it here, but I would actually go to the IRS website to verify. Also, I want to point out that under the qualifying relative rules, some dependents do not need to live with the taxpayers. There are 2 exceptions for this. The first is exception for temporary absences. During the period of temporary absence on the part of either the taxpayer or the dependent due to illness, education, business, vacation, or most importantly, military service, the taxpayer and the qualifying person are still considered to be residing in the same household. So basically they're off doing something, whether fighting a war, off being sick, or off on vacation. As long as you're upkeeping the home for them, it will still count as head of household. So they don't have to be in the house for that to happen. And once again, like I said, it must be reasonable to assume that the absent person will return to the home after the temporary absence. Not they went on a vacation to get married and move on. They have to be coming back. And you must continue, of course, to keep up the home during the absence. Now, there is a second exception that lets people who don't live with you be qualified as under your head of household. That is the exception for dependent parents. There is a special exemption for taxpayers who support dependent parents. A parent can be a qualifying person for the purpose of qualifying for head of household status, even if the parent does not reside in the same home as the taxpayer. The taxpayer will still need to be able to claim the parent as a dependent and would still need to meet the support test. If your qualifying person is your father or mother, you may be eligible to file as head of household even if your father or mother does not live with you. However, you must be able to claim an exemption for your father or mother. This means you must be able to provide all the support for them. They can't be claimed by anybody else, etc., etc. Also, you must pay more than half the cost of keeping up a home that was the main home for them for the entire year. The thing to take away from this, guys, is it's a really nice filing status, is don't do it. Unless you have very specific needs, don't do it. Okay, guys, well, we'll wrap it up now. I will talk to you guys later.